Good evening. You are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. Within the context of extending bridges of relations with the outside world, the Sultanate participates in the activities of Vilnius International Book Fair in Lithuania. A workshop is held in the Wilaya of Sohar to acquaint with the visitor system program, which documents tourism activity in the Sultanate. Arab Parliament's conference held in Cairo recommends to provide support necessary to make Palestinian efforts successful to convene an international peace conference. And the UN Security Council is expected to vote on a US-Russian draft resolution endorsing the Syria ceasefire. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. To enhance the communication with the world's countries and to highlight the achievements of the blessed renaissance of the Sultanate represented by the Ministry of Information took part in activities of an international Vilnius book fair in Lithuania. During the opening of the book fair, the Prime Minister of Lithuania praised the deep-rooted relations between both countries and stressed on enhancing them in various fields. The Sultanate's pavilion included several Omani publications with Arabic and English languages in the cultural, literary, economic and tourist fields. It also included 12 books published by the Ministry of Information, in addition to craft section that highlights the traditional handicrafts and other sections for the traditional costumes and photos of Omani nature. His Excellency President Abdulaziz Bouteflika of Algeria praised the gift he received from the Sultanate's embassy in Algeria, which was embodied in Oman Encyclopedia, emphasizing that the encyclopedia is rich of its civilizational contents, biological diversification of the Sultanate, and multicultural texture. That came in a message His Excellency the President sent to His Excellency Nasser bin Saif Al Husni, Sultanate's accredited ambassador to Algeria, praising the role led by the Sultanate in attention for history and Arab and Islamic civilization, stressing deep relations between the Sultanate and Algeria in various fields, ways of developing them and strengthening them for the interest of the two countries. To activate the visitor system project adopted by the Oman Police and Information Technology Authority in cooperation with the Ministry of Tourism, a workshop was held in the Wilaya of Sohar to highlight the positive aspects of the system. It came to create a database in bodies concerned to identify the number of visitors from inside and outside the Sultanate. The project provides various services and facilities for tourists through the Visitor Center and other sources. Due to the rapid growth in the tourism sector, the bodies concerned are working to find an accurate statistics database system that is reliable for future plans. Providing necessary support for making Palestinian efforts successful to convene an international peace conference and finding binding mechanisms to implement international legitimacy decisions pertaining to the Palestinian cause topped dialogue reached by heads of Arab parliaments in their meeting at the premises of the Secretariat General of the Arab League in Cairo. The participants in their final communique called for adoption of immediate measures to rescue Jerusalem from Israeli policies aimed to Judaize it. At the same time, they called to the necessity to document audio-visual and publish violations and crimes committed by Israeli occupation forces and settlers, and to send them to all parliaments around the world. The meeting called to support Palestinian and Arab efforts to end intra-Palestinian division and to form a national unity government, followed by comprehensive elections in line with rapprochement agreements. At the end of the communique, Arab parliamentarians were unanimous to support Palestinian budget and to entwine Arab capitals with the city of Jerusalem by providing economic support and also to rebuild Gaza. The Israeli occupation forces continued their settlement expansion policy by kicking Palestinians out of their lands and properties. After one day of completing construction of a school at Abu Anwar area near Jerusalem, the Israeli occupation forces demolished the school under the pretext that it was illegally established. But the school administration and Palestinian students continued studies in the open, challenging the difficult circumstances. The UN Security Council is expected to vote today on a US-Russian draft resolution endorsing the Syria ceasefire. The 15-member council is set to meet as of 2000 GMT to hear a report from UN envoy Staffan de Mistura and could vote on the measure at that session. The draft text welcomes the truce as a step towards a lasting ceasefire and endorses the US-Russian agreement on the truce. It demands the cessation of hostilities to begin at midnight Damascus time and renews a call to allow humanitarian aid to be delivered. The measure urges all countries, in particular those involved in the Syrian peace process, to use their influence with the parties to the cessation of hostilities to ensure fulfillment of those commitments. De Mistura is due to report to the Council a few hours before the ceasefire is due to go into effect. The deal excludes Daesh group and Al-Qaeda-linked Al-Nusra Front, which control large swaths of territory in Syria. If the ceasefire holds, de Mistura hopes to convene a new round of peace talks next week, possibly on March 4th. The truce will also help UN agencies scale up deliveries of humanitarian aid to hard-to-reach areas across Syria's many front lines. US President Barack Obama has warned that the world will be watching the commitment to a looming ceasefire as the 17-nation group backing the Syria peace process prepare to fine-tune the deal.
This is going to be a test of whether the parties are truly committed to negotiations. The process agreed to in Vienna is clear: a transition toward a more inclusive representative government, a new constitution, followed by free elections. I will say it again, such a future, I am convinced, cannot include Bashar al-Assad. Many Syrians will never stop fighting until Assad is out of power. There's no alternative to a managed transition away from Assad. It's the only way to end the civil war and unite the Syrian people against terrorists. About 2 months ago at the Pentagon, I said that we had to squeeze ISIL's core in Syria and Iraq. It's hard. To make it harder for these killers to pump their terror and their propaganda to the rest of the world. And over the last 2 months, the good news is we've done exactly that. We've continued to intensify our efforts, and we're seeing results. Today, I directed my team to continue accelerating this campaign on all fronts. Our 66-member coalition, including Arab partners, continues to grow stronger. Over the past 2 months, thanks to Secretary Carter's good work, just about all of our military partners have agreed to increase their contributions, buying into our conception of how we ramp up the pressure on ISIL. Dutch aircraft are now striking ISIL targets in Syria. Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates are expanding their role in the air campaign. Canada is tripling its personnel to help train and advise forces in Iraq. Every day, our air campaign, more than 10,000 strikes so far, continues to destroy ISIL forces, infrastructure, and heavy weapons. ISIL fighters are learning that they've got no safe haven. We can hit them anywhere, anytime, and we do. In fact, ISIL still has not had a single successful major offensive operation in Syria or Iraq since last summer. And we continue to go after ISIL leaders and commanders, taking them out day in, day out, one after another after another.
The North Atlantic Organization, NATO, has agreed to send ships to the Aegean to help fight people trafficking. The crisis was exacerbated when German Chancellor Angela Merkel last year waived EU procedures to take in hundreds of thousands of Syrians. Mutual recriminations have sabotaged efforts to share the burden systematically ever since. Belgium, France, Germany, Norway, Sweden and Denmark have all introduced emergency border checks allowed under the Schengen rules. But Austria, the last stop for most migrants before Germany, infuriated Brussels and Berlin last week by setting daily caps on the number of people it processes. The decision set off a cascade of similar moves back through the Western Balkans, the main migration route, leaving ever more migrants stuck in Greece. Meanwhile, European Union officials said Europe's cherished free travel zone will shut down unless Turkey acts to cut the number of migrants heading north through Greece by March 7th. The EU leaders are now pinning their hopes on talks with Turkey on March 7th and their own migration summit on March 18th to 19th. A French judge upheld a government plan to partially demolish a shanty town for migrants trying to reach Britain on the outskirts of the northern port of Calais. An official deadline for at least 1,000 migrants to leave the southern port of the so-called jungle camp expired on Tuesday, and the authorities have said they will use force if necessary to move them to alternative accommodation in a nearby container park and other reception centers. Altogether, some 4,000 people are believed to live in the jungle, down from about 6,000 in September. The authorities would like to see this number fall to around 2,000. Migrants' repeated efforts to force their way through the Channel Tunnel or to stow away aboard trucks have disrupted traffic across the vital link between France and Britain and caused tension with the local population and forced French police to maintain a large deployment in the area. Iranians voted today in a parliamentary elections, the country's first since its landmark nuclear deal with world powers last summer. At the same time as parliamentary elections, Iranians are also voting for this assembly of experts, a clerical body empowered to choose or dismiss the country's supreme leader. State TV showed long lines of people waiting to cast their ballots in the twin elections as the polls opened. Some 53,000 polling stations throughout Iran are taking ballots for the 290-member parliament and the 88-member experts assembly. Nearly 55 million Iranians are eligible to vote. Among those who cast their ballot in the first hours of the voting was Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the country's supreme leader. He had urged Iranians to vote, saying it was both a right and a responsibility, and that a high turnout would boost Iran's image and might. Still to come in our news bulletin. The game of polo in Sri Lanka progresses from horses to elephants to tuk-tuks. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. The Ministry of Commerce and Industry collected random samples of Mars chocolate products from around the markets in the Sultanate because of the possibility of the existence of plastic bits and subjected the samples to laboratory tests to ensure that the products contain no harmful substance. The ministry stressed that the random sampling comes as a precautionary measure to ensure that the Omani markets contain no such harmful products, despite the fact that the Sultanate is not on the list of the 55 countries which recalled the products of Mars Chocolate Company. Meanwhile, the bodies concerned will intensify control over the markets during this period to make sure that no harmful chocolate products exist in the Omani markets, which expire in June 2016 and January 2017. The Ministry of Endowments and Religious Affairs held a ceremony in the governorate of Buraimi to honor 22 Holy Quran teachers after getting Ijaza certificate in Holy Quran. This came after they successfully passed the stages of performance evaluation and practical training. The event witnessed a huge participation from members of the society, including sheikhs and scholars. The ceremony included Holy Quran reciting inshat sessions, as well as visual presentations on the stages of the program that the teachers completed. The teachers expressed their delight on this wonderful achievement and thanked the bodies concerned for their support and efforts. An elephant polo tournament in Sri Lanka, which was scrapped after one of the beasts went rogue, has been revived with tuk-tuk taxis taking their place to the relief of the animal lovers. 6 teams of 3 vehicles each and their drivers and passengers competed in the 2016 Tuk-Tuk Polo Championships held over the weekend in the southern port of city of Gali. Rachel Dobbs, niece of Australian luxury hotelier Jeffrey Dobbs, who organized the event, said they had a tuk-tuk polo event last year, which was more of a friendly game, but this year it was a proper tournament. Elephants were ridden at 6 previous tournaments in Gali, but organizers decided to stop using the animals after the 2007 event when one went rogue and smashed into several spectators' cars. Tuk-tuks, 3-wheelers, motorbike taxis are more commonly sighted zipping throughout traffic in Sri Lanka, Thailand and elsewhere. Winners of this year's tournament split $1,430 in prize money. The dawn of online shopping is changing the lives of people in rural areas and is breathing new life into India Post, the ailing state-run postal network, which has struggled with a huge deficit for years. Here is a report.
Delivery, just one click away. The internet is transforming the way Indians shop, and India Post, the world's biggest postal network, founded in the 1850s, is helping to get goods across the country. So much so that the state-run service is hoping e-commerce will help stem an $800 million deficit.
Now it's increasing because of the use of phones, mobile phones, internet. When they see the ads aired on TV, people order from the big companies such as Amazon, Naptol, etc.
Partnerships with hundreds of online sellers, including Amazon and Indian giant Flipkart, means everything from mobile phones to cow manure is up for delivery. Not so long ago, these people would have had to go shopping in large cities. Now, the merchandise comes to them.
This time we've ordered an electric spray paint machine. We've already ordered items 2 or 3 times in the past. We get good quality, a good variety, it's cheaper, and we get the product delivered at home.
Some shoppers do not have bank accounts outside big cities, and so payment on delivery is offered. This allows some last-minute changes, like parcels being refused.
The delivery date has long passed, so we bought it in the market instead.
Challenges clearly remain, but with India Post now delivering around 75,000 packages every day, online shopping may go some way to resurrecting the old giant.
Now for the general weather forecast. Clear to partly cloudy skies will prevail over the northern parts of the Sultanate, with chances of scattered rainfall, occasionally thunderous on the Hajar Mountains and the nearby areas, as well as Governorate of Musandam. Winds will be northeasterly light to moderate on the coastal areas overlooking Sea of Oman, while along the rest of the Sultanate it will be easterly to southeasterly light to moderate. Seas will be moderate on the western coasts of the Governorate of Musandam with a maximum wave height of 2 meters. Rest of the coasts, it will be slight with a maximum wave height of 1.25 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's news bulletin, here are the main points once again. Within the context of extending bridges of relations with the outside world, the Sultanate participates in the activities of Vilnius International Book Fair in Lithuania. A workshop is held in the Wilaya of Sohar to acquaint with the visitor system program, which documents tourism activity in the Sultanate. Arab Parliament's conference held in Cairo recommends to provide support necessary to make Palestinian efforts successful to convene an international peace conference. And the UN Security Council is expected to vote on a US-Russian draft resolution endorsing the Syria ceasefire. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night.